You asked, and we're here to explain the nuance in LA air conditioning requirements. You may have just read in the news that LA is requiring air conditioning in all rental units.
And Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Grande has more on a new proposal to keep renters cool in the summer heat.
Is this true? Yes and no. We're going to run through the nuance and help you understand exactly what LA County and LA City are potentially requiring for rental units. And stick around to the end where we run through some big questions we have, and of course want to hear your big questions. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We've been helping renters and landlords understand their rights before things go wrong. And remember, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. All this talk about LA and AC may seem familiar, and that's because the city of LA put something forward first. Back in May 31st, 2023, this motion came forward in their meeting to discuss the idea of installing a cooling apparatus in every residential rental property in LA City. This motion has not yet drafted an ordinance or put anything forward. They're working on a report. One of the big questions the report will answer is, can the city's electrical grid handle it if every residential unit in the city does have a cooling system or a cooling apparatus? So LA City did bring this forward, and we'll continue to watch this and see if it changes as things move forward in LA County. This does not mention a maximum interior temperature, just that AC or a cooling apparatus be installed. What you've recently been hearing about in the news is from LA County, and it's talking about adopting a maximum temperature. What you heard about LA City is about adopting a cooling apparatus for every residential rental unit in LA City. Those are two separate solutions to a similar problem of excessive heat. Back to the LA County Board of Supervisors motion. This was put forward by the supervisors Hilda Solis and Lindsay Horvath, and this is to establish a safe maximum temperature threshold for residential units. So there's a clue right there. It does not actually specify that AC must be installed like we had in LA City. This is to establish a maximum temperature and the ramifications of doing that. So the first thing it covers is what is going on with extreme heat in LA County, and it quotes some statistics: 599 deaths from 2010 to 2019 in the state of California, and LA Times estimates it's closer to 3,900. Then there are projections about where deaths in the state will go. Absolutely not making light of any death in the state of California, but it's important to put some context to these numbers. If we use the higher number from LA Times, that works out to about 390 deaths per year throughout the state of California. That's important to understand, that it doesn't localize deaths to just LA County. It also doesn't break it down into the number of deaths that are outside the property where AC inside wouldn't make a difference. For perspective, we have over 3,900 deaths per 1 year due to traffic accidents in the state of California. If we use that lower number, the 599, that works out to around 1 death per county per year in the state of California. According to this motion, they're taking critical steps in the county to address extreme heat. One of the things they did in the November 1st Board of Supervisors meeting was to pass a motion to have a report authored called Investigating Safe Maximum Indoor Temperature Thresholds to Assist Vulnerable Tenants and Workers in High-Risk Workplaces. That report, which we're about to dive into, had some interesting recommendations. The report was delivered to the Board of Supervisors on March 23rd, 2023, and had some important research that was done. It showed us other jurisdictions where there have been maximum temperature thresholds set. The desert climate of Palm Springs has two requirements. They have a maximum interior temperature of 80 degrees Fahrenheit as a requirement, and they have an air conditioning requirement. So every residential unit needs to have AC readily available. Phoenix, Arizona, a lovely desert climate, has an 86 degree maximum if it's passively cooled or evaporatively cooled, 82 if it's actively cooled, like air conditioning, and that is 3 feet above the floor in the center of the room. That's where the measurement will be taken, and most of the other desert places we're going to show you, that's how it's also determined where that temperature is taken as well for the maximum interior temperature. Clark County says only in triplexes and larger are you required to keep it 85 degrees or cooler. And last but not least, El Paso, Texas says you're good as long as it's 90 degrees or cooler. Other important research in this report you can read by clicking the link I have in the description. But here are the summary of recommendations. So the maximum interior temperature should be 82 degrees with an active cooling unit with AC, or 86 if it's evaporative cooling or no cooling unit. There should be an ordinance that allows things to be phased in for older buildings. So they're recommending 3 to 5 years for existing buildings. New construction, you can require it much sooner. There needs to be funding and assistance for landlords, particularly small landlords, and those for people of color to help them retrofit their buildings, according to this report. And here we are back at our LA County motion, and despite all that hard work put into that report and what the World Health Organization recommends of having a 2-tiered system when there is an AC unit 82 degrees and other forms of cooling 86, they think in LA County this will be too complicated for implementation and disincentivize landlords. So the Board of Supervisors is not going to take that recommendation. They're going to go with 1 temperature. So the motion calls that within 150 days, that 1 temperature will be set. Within 180 days, we'll have our ordinance that we can review, and that ordinance will establish that single maximum indoor temperature. It'll require that all buildings be cooling ready so that a tenant can add AC if they want, although it will be required for landlords to add it, so not quite sure why this is in here. There will be a phased implementation approach. New construction will require sooner, and then existing buildings, although we don't have a timeline, but consideration will be given based on the age of the building, number of units owned by the landlord, and the landlord's financial ability to comply. But wait, there's more that'll be in the ordinance. That is an anti-displacement provision, so landlords cannot pass on any fees or higher rent for the cost of putting in the air conditioning. There will be an update to tenant protections to ensure that cooling practices are not considered cause for eviction. Currently, in the state of California and LA City, any of the at-fault reasons for eviction do not reference cooling practices at all, so it'll be interesting to see what this actually says. A few big questions we're left for, and hopefully the ordinance will answer this, and further ordinances may be required, but we want to know, what is that maximum indoor temperature going to be, and how is it going to be measured, and who's going to take care of the measurement? One of the bigger questions we have, and an electrifying one, is will the electrical grid in LA County be able to handle cooling devices that come in? Now, to get to these temperature standards, they could potentially be evaporative, or they could be active AC units, or maybe you plant trees or cool roofs, or some of those other routes you can go potentially to drop the temperature. But if we install additional AC units or fans, will the grid be able to handle it, or will we be increasing the number of rolling blackouts we have, which could be even more dangerous when people who need appliances that use electricity to stay alive don't have power? More big questions is, how long will landlords have to put these in? Where's the money going to come from for the installation? What will the penalty be for not putting them in? And another big one is, why the obsession with only rental units? If you're a property owner, shouldn't you go ahead and live at the same maximum temperature? And if you're low income and can't afford to put in the AC, just because you own a property, are you not going to be able to get funding from LA to help? I think if this program is truly working to limit heat exposure to all people in Los Angeles County, it needs to figure out a way to also do that for property owners who don't have the funds to put in AC themselves. What are your big questions related to LA and maximum temperature and requiring AC? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed to our free weekly email newsletter so you get an update on what happens with this ordinance. And if you like this video, you're not going to want to miss this next one right here. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we can't wait to hear from you.